What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? We're a little late this week, but this is gonna be your Cartel Crew season 2, episode 6. So we start this episode off. We see Diana, and she has decided that she's just gonna. She said, my kids need to see their father. There is never going to be a perfect time. I'm never going to have, I can make the money back, but with every day that goes by, the kids are getting more and more. More and more distance between them and their dad, and I can hear it in his voice, and it's just time. So she booked a trip, and she's taking them out to California to see their dad. And I'm gonna just go ahead and knock Diana out because this was a very important part of this episode. And I think that once again, when we start getting into how these long prison sentences affect families. And again, I'm not defending, bad behavior. However, like she was saying, her husband is serving, I want to say something like 27-year sentence for something that's now legal in a large part of the United States. And I definitely think that, I definitely feel like a lot of these nonviolent marijuana offenses should definitely be revisited and sentences reduced or even time served. Like, I think he's been in jail already something like 6 or 7 years. I mean, but anyway, so she's getting the kids packed up and stuff that you don't think about. If you've never gone to visit a jail before, it's things that you just don't think about, like what you can't wear, colors you can't wear, types of clothing you can't wear. I worked at a detention center for a couple of years. It was a juvenile detention center, but a detention center nonetheless. And there were things that we couldn't wear to work. We couldn't wear open-toe shoes. We couldn't wear things with our arms out. We couldn't wear, we could wear jeans and things like that, but no holes in them. And it was just a lot. And this were kids that we were dealing with. So I'm certain that on the adult level, it's even more strict. And that was just to work there. That the list of what visitors couldn't do and wear was, even longer. And so, she's getting the kids ready. She's getting them packed up. She's got to make sure to check their luggage to make sure they pack the right things and all of that. And one of her daughters is very, just very apprehensive and nervous, not knowing what to expect, not knowing, she doesn't really remember her interactions with her dad. She remembers her dad. She knows what he looks like, but the interaction, the conversation piece. And because Diana is a convicted felon and his co-conspirator, she cannot go into the jail with the kids. So she's taking his mom, which ends up being a good thing because his mom hasn't seen him since he was convicted, since he went to jail. And so she gets to go. So they fly out to California, and prisons, they don't put federal prisons in the middle of everything. You know what I mean? Like, that's not where they put them. So even from the airport, they had to drive another hour. And, they stayed at the hotel overnight. And the next day, they went to go see her husband. And it was very emotional for everybody. The kids were the only one that seemed to be the least affected is the one who didn't really remember anything, which was the youngest son. And for him, it was just, he didn't miss his dad from the point of view of, my dad was here and now he's gone. He's just never met his dad because when he went to jail, I want to say he was. They showed a picture and he looked like he was less than one. So he doesn't remember, and so for him it was just, I'm going to meet my dad. I'm going to meet my dad. I'm going to meet my dad. And so they're getting ready to go into the jail, and his mom basically had a nervous breakdown going into the jail. I mean, she started crying. She could barely walk. She got very upset. And Diana was like, I need you to get it together, because if you can't get it together to go in here, the kids don't get to go. Because I can't go, and they can't go by themselves because they're minors. So I really need you to get it together. But you definitely, she handled it very well, because we know Diana can be very rah-rah, but she was very, very kind with his mom, and and they got it together and everything. And she ended up talking to Marie while while the kids were in there visiting, because of course, like I said, she couldn't go, so she had to just kind of, she just went driving and stuff like that, and she was emotional and crying and everything like that. And I think part of it was just, I just want to be able to see him, not even because they're divorced, so I don't think it was all about a love thing, but I do think it was a wanting to just see him and make sure he's okay, and just put your eyes on him. And to come that far and not be able to see him, I'm sure it was hard, because she said she hadn't seen him since he's been convicted either. So, or no, since they were arrested, because they were in jail together. Like, they got arrested together and went through their own trial. So she hasn't seen him since they got arrested. So when they came out, everybody was happy. The grandmother was like, everybody cried. The little boy was like, I ain't cry. And he probably didn't, because again, for him, it was exciting and an adventure. He may have cried when they left or what have you, but so everybody, they had a good visit, they had a good time, and again, it just reminds you of what, and like Diana said, when we were out there living this life, we were not thinking about what the potential effect could be to our family. We weren't thinking about this. We were just thinking about the lifestyle, the money. We were living good. Like, we weren't thinking about the negative side of it until it slapped us in the face. And she said, knowing what I know now, definitely would have made some different decisions. Definitely would have done things differently. So, I can respect it. Diana comes off real hard, and I've done my fair share of criticism on Diana, but I definitely saw a different side of her through this process of her kids with their father and everything. And so, I just hope that he's able to come home soon, because I really believe that I just feel some kind of way about these people serving these long prison sentences for something that people are legally doing now. Like, I'm sorry. I understand that the law was the law then, but anyway, I can get on that soapbox. So then we have Marie and Michael. Michael is on his way to California for a business trip, honey. He's getting his 420 on. He has to go visit the facility and all of that. Put his feet on. He said he got to put his feet in the soil, honey. And they end up getting into a really, really bad fight. Marie's biggest fear is that Michael is going. It's sort of like being a drug addict. It's like, or let's say an alcoholic. For let me give you a bad example. When someone's an alcoholic and they just do a toast on New Year's, right? And it's like, it's just a sip. I'm just doing a toast because it's the new year. I'm just trying to be festive. It's not a big deal. And then 6 months later, they right back where they started, back hard on the alcohol. And I think that's what Maria's thinking. Maria's like, look, oh Lord. Sorry about that, honey. You know how things do. So, but I think that's Marie's fear, is that Michael is going to get, even though weed is legal now and everything is on the up and up and he's got a legitimate business, I don't think she's worried about the legitimate business. I think she's worried that he had such an addiction to that life, to the drug life and the lifestyle, that he's going to get a taste of it and he's going to fall back in head first. And I think she's so scared of that being the case. And so they end up getting into this argument because he's packing to go to LA and she's like, you didn't tell me you were going. He was like, yes, I did. She said, look, that was 2 weeks ago. You need to let me know these things. I have to mentally prepare. And he was like, what you got to prepare for? And again, she was like, you just don't get it. Like, I get afraid. I get nervous. I get anxious. I have the baby here. I got to be, prepared to be here by myself with the baby. Like, it is a lot that goes into when you are a 2-parent household and it becomes 1 parent, even if it's only for a couple of days. And so they end up getting into this really bad argument. Let me tell you something. It's bad when you're bilingual, right? When you are bilingual and you start arguing in one language and you end up arguing in another language, it's a bad argument. By the time they got done, they was cussing each other out in Spanish. Then they got into the sign language, because then they started throwing the middle finger up at each other. I said, well, damn, y'all done cussed each other out in 3 damn languages. But, anyway, so Marie puts him out. She said, look, I don't even want you here right now. Leave. And, I guess he was getting ready to go to the airport, so he went straight to the airport. And then we see him, again, I'm just going to knock this on out. Then we see him in California. visiting the warehouse where the weed is and everything. They have all the different strands and all that, and they actually have a Blanco strand because of course his mother was the godmother, and so Michael's thing was, this is putting me back where I'm supposed to be. This is creating, when I gained so much through the illegal drug trade that once I lost it, there was nothing I could legally do to get it back. Like, you can't, when somebody steal money from you, you can't go report it if it's illegal money, and so he's like, once it was gone, it was gone. But this is a way for me to build up wealth and put me back where I need to be. And so he definitely, he was in awe. He was welled up, and he was like, for my mother and my family to be looking down on me right now and see me taking what they taught me and flipping it legally, he was like, it's a moment. Like, it really is a moment. And then he talked about, how the guilt that he carries when he said, basically, we lost everything under my watch. Like, my mother built up this empire and we lost it under my watch. And so he's carried the burden of that, whether you agree with their lifestyle or not. Like, I definitely can understand that something was left to you and it was destroyed while you were in charge. It was illegal, so eventually it was going to be destroyed anyway, but I could get it. I can dig it. And so then we see Michael came back home, and Marie was like, I really hate fighting with Michael. I really hate the way we left things when he left for left for California. So basically, when he came back, I just pretend like it didn't happen. She said, I didn't want to rehash it. I didn't want to go over it. I just pretended like it didn't happen. We fought, and now it's over. And we see them pretty much just talking it out. And she's just telling him, look, I'm just afraid. Like, this scares me. And, Michael's thing is, be afraid of the money we about to make. And she was like, I don't care. Like, the money doesn't mean anything to me if I lose you. Whether that be physically lose you or figuratively lose you, meaning, like, your mind is just, you back in that lifestyle. And so, but they talked and they made up. Because, I love Michael and Marie, and I don't like to see them arguing like that either, honey. I didn't like that argument either. It made me feel some kind of way. I was like, no, y'all better get it together. Y'all better get it together. But by the end of the episode, they were good, y'all. They were good. So then we see Stephanie meet up with Eddie. And Stephanie apologized to Eddie, and she told me she drew it out. You wasn't that long drawn when you was trying to comfort him, but okay, you did apologize. And she told him, she said, look, I still feel the way I feel, but I was wrong in the way I handled it. I'm still, I still love Kat, and I'm still protective of Kat, and I'm still worried that you are going to do her wrong. However, I was wrong in coming to your job. I was wrong in the things I said to you. And, and he said, I hear what you're telling me. And he didn't let her off the hook very easily. He told her, he said, yeah, like, that was just uncalled for what you did. Like, that was just real out of pocket. And she was like, you're right. It was. He said, but I feel like it's coming from a deeper place. Like, and she said it is. And she went on to explain the situation with what happened with her dad and her mom. And then she went a little deeper. And she said, what a lot of people don't know is I physically made myself sick over that situation between my mom and my dad. And what ended up happening was I started having seizures and I started passing out. And it put so much wear and tear on my heart that I now have a pacemaker. And she said, so that is a scar that I carry every day. And it's connected to what happened with my parents, which is connected to the situation with my dad coming out of jail and, loving dubbing up on my mom and dogging her out. And so they were able to have a moment. And, I can, and like he said, look, he said, I was, and basically if you cut through the bull of what Eddie said, Eddie was like, look, I was an asshole. When I was dating Kat, I was a dog. I was in the streets. I was running the streets. I was living that lifestyle. He was like, I'm not making no excuses, but I'm not that man anymore. So the things that I did to Kat, I'm not going to do anymore because I'm not that person. I was out there in the streets and I was trying to maintain a certain lifestyle that in my mind at the time didn't include being a good boyfriend. And so he said, but you got to know that is not my intention. My intention is not to dog her out. But I appreciate you're her friend and that's how you feel. So they ended it on a good note. So that was a good thing. Good. So then we have a moment between the twins. We see Nicole and her brother talking, and she tells her brother that she's ready to have a baby. And of course, he's like, what? Now, mind you, 2 minutes before that, he was teaching her how to cut vegetables, honey. He said, how you gonna take care of a child and I take care of you? And she got so mad. She was like, what are you talking about? I hated you and mommy said the same thing. I know that. And basically she was like, look, I know I've been out here running these streets. I know I've been wilding. I know I've been, a club girl or whatever, but I'm ready to settle down. Like, I know what I want and I'm ready to settle down. And he was like, are you ready to take care of a child? And she was like, yes. And she sort of went off, and then he was like, I'm sorry, I don't want to make you feel that way. I don't want to make you feel bad. He was like, well, I just want to make sure because, at the end of the day, I'm going to end up taking care of you. And what was funny was he comforted her and everything, but he still said what he said. He was like, I'm going to end up taking care of you and the baby. So he still feel the way he feel. And one thing that Nicole said, which on one hand made me feel bad, but on the other hand, I felt like you need to take heed to your own conversation. But one thing she said was, I may not be the smartest person, but I've got street smarts. And so I feel like Nicole, I don't know if she's been told that she's dumb. I don't know if maybe she was in special ed in school. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where that came from. But the comment made me feel, it really kind of made me feel bad. Because I feel like she was like, look, I know I'm not the smartest person in the room. But I know what I want. I'm not dumb that I don't know what I want and what I'm ready for. Now, at the end of the day, do I think that child ready to have a baby? No. And do I think she's ready to have a baby by a man she just met that's a professional basketball player? Double no. But you know what? That's their business, honey. That is their business. That's between the two of them. I ain't got nothing to do with it. That is their business, okay? So, last but not least, in this episode, we have Eddie and Kat out on a date. And they're having date night, and they're out at a really nice restaurant. They're at the, it's the former Versace mansion. They've turned it into a restaurant. Now, the last time I was in Miami, I knew they rented it out, but I didn't know it was a full-fledged restaurant. I've been there, but I've never eaten there. Obviously, because I didn't know it was a restaurant there. But, I mean, I've been to the former Versace mansion, took pictures out in front of the mansion and all that good stuff. So, but it sounds like, and Eddie, honey, Eddie was ordering dinner, honey. He was ordering big stuff, honey. I said, okay, Eddie, that gym check must have looked good this week. That personal trainer check, because he was ordering all kinds of nice stuff off the menu, and he was being all romantic and everything, and they were having a good moment at first, and then all of a sudden, Kat says, "Well, I don't really want to ruin the mood, but whenever there's a but, there's a problem. I don't want to ruin the mood, but." And then she proceeds to have the conversation about basically their relationship and how nervous she is about opening herself up to him again, and how nervous she is about him hurting her, and how she really feels like that in the back of her mind she's going to end up getting hurt again. And he listened to her and he told her, he said, look, I hear what you're saying, and all I can tell you is, and it's sort of the same thing he told Stephanie, like, I'm not that guy. Like, I was in the streets. I was running the streets. I had a certain position out here, and I had to play that position. And in my mind, and I felt like she wasn't hearing what he was trying to say to her, because he was like, in my mind, I felt like to play this position, there were certain things you were supposed to do and not supposed to do. But what she was trying to say was, he said, you knew I was out here in the streets when we were dating. Like, you knew what I was doing. And her thing was, yeah, I know you were running the streets and I knew you were out here, you was a drug dealer and everything. But that didn't excuse you cheating on me. Like, you being a faithful boyfriend and you being a drug dealer are two different things. And he was like, yes, I get that. But in my mind at the time, me being all lovey-dovey with you and being faithful to you, in my mind was like a sign of weakness, and I couldn't afford to be seen as weak. And so I had to play the position and play the role that I thought I was supposed to be playing. And I understood what he was saying. I'm not excusing his behavior, but I understood what he was saying. Kat wasn't hearing it because she wasn't listening with her ears. She was listening with her heart. And it turned into a big argument. And then they started kind of going below the belt. And he said, look, I'm doing everything I know to do to show you that I'm trying to be here. I cook, I clean. I ain't hardly getting no poo-poo. But yet I'm still here and yet I'm still faithful. And so I feel like that should be enough for you to understand how I really feel about you and how I really want this relationship to work. Because he was basically like, I need you to play your role as a woman. He kind of went there with the traditional roles thing. So then Kat was like, well, hold up. Wait a minute, player. I'm paying all the bills around this bitch. And so for me to be able to pay all the bills so that you don't feel like you have to go out here and make other decisions to make more money, that mean I gotta work. So yeah, if that mean that I'm not cooking for you every night, that's because I'm over at my tattoo shop, running my business, paying our bills. So I feel like they both kind of threw some jabs at each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, no man wants to feel like he's being taken care of. And no woman wants to feel like she's being reduced to a woman's role. And like Kat said, I've been doing this by myself for the last 5-6 years. So you got to understand that it's going to take me a minute to adjust to a role that you're trying to put me in, because I've been doing my own thing out here for the last 5 or 6 years, and I've been making it pop. So next thing you know, honey, they sitting there, they ain't speaking to each other. I said, they done ruined this good ass meal. And that's what Eddie said. He said, this is a perfectly good date night gone down the drain. I said, damn. Because that was a nice restaurant. They had ordered a nice meal. They were looking nice. They both had on their nice little outfits and everything. Plus, I think they just make a real cute couple anyway, honey. So last thing we see is the two of them not speaking to each other. And Eddie get up and walk away from the table, honey. I felt so bad. But at the end of the day, though, these are conversations that need to be had. Eddie needs to understand what her fears are, what her apprehension is with going all in. Like, she wants to be with him, but she just can't trust her heart with him right now. So anyway, that's pretty much what happened. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.